We are going to do another resume review. This will be resume number 3. So here we go. Um, all right. So just from an initial glance, don't like the format of this resume. So let's go through top to bottom. Okay, so the name here and then just the city and state. Again, put your full address on your pilot resume if you're submitting it for a job. If you want to de-identify a resume to put out on some platforms and things like that, great. Sorry, trying to get this recipe. But you need to have your full address on here for the one that you are using to apply for a job. Phone number, email. Again, like to see a LinkedIn on here if you have one. And authorized. So this right here, and I want to tell you guys about this. This is why I say if you have a current U.S. passport, put that on your resume, because you may not know this, but the pilot market is also flooded with non-US passport holder pilots that have green cards, etc. But some airlines cannot hire foreign passport holders. It depends on the airline, it depends on where they fly. Sometimes there's issues, right? Depending on what countries they're flying in and out of. If they have a pilot that's not from the US, that maybe, those countries have issues. So there's a lot of reasons why, right? But what I am saying is put US passport if you have it. But this person did correctly. I really like this because I'm learning. So, right, Peruvian passport. Great. But this authorized to work in the US doesn't really tell me if you're qualified to work at my airline, right? So whatever airline your recruiter is working at, because does this mean you're on a visa or does this mean you have a green card? And there's a big difference. A lot of airlines cannot hire people on work visas. Has to be a green card. So again, give me all of the information so that I don't have questions as to your ability to qualify for the position. Okay, I know you have a Peruvian passport, and that's okay. Maybe I can hire people with foreign passports, but they have to have green cards. I don't know if you have a green card by this. That could be a visa. Okay, enough about that. But that's why I tell you guys, put your current US passport on your resume if you have one too, because then that just eliminates that speculation. Okay, professional summary. Now, most of the time, I tell you guys, don't put a summary or an intro or a bio on the top of your resume. I still wouldn't put this here. I would probably, since it's a summary, put it at the bottom. But this person has a very unique background. It's very different than what you see most typically. So I did like that they included this part for me. I the type rating, the background, right? Because this person does have a bit of a unique background, I do like the information they put there. I just maybe would put that like down under these sections, right? Like a summary of your experience, right? So I would probably put that like right underneath all this stuff. So again, you do have the good stuff at the top, right? I mean, this we move, but then we go right into certificates and ratings and flight time. That's what we want, right? I got to determine if you're qualified before I even care about your work history. I'm not even going to look at your work history unless you're qualified. So, okay, this person has an ATP, but check this out. They have an ATP with a A320 type rating. So if they're going for probably any time an airline job, as far as pilot certifications, they probably have what's needed. First class medical, okay. This is where I would put the passport piece as well. Now, this, I like that this is on here because this tells me this person does not have a FAA commercial certificate, right? They probably went and did the check ride for the ATP and then they were issued that, right? So it's not an issue unless this person needed to exercise the privileges of a commercial, but they have an ATP, so that should like supersede that or whatever. Again, authorized to work in the US, but is this a visa or a green card? If you have a green card, just put US green card. And then I know. If I see anything other than that, I start to think it's a visa. And so I don't know, right? Some airlines hire on work visas, some don't. Depends on the type of visa. So again, if you are a foreign passport holder pilot, I highly recommend you be a bit more clear about your work status. It varies airline to airline. Okay. So be very clear as to what type of work status you have. That's extremely helpful to the recruiters. Okay. Again, so there's some more things that we would put here, right? Your radio license, if you have that, add in all the things. If and I know this person has an ATP, but like if you have things like ATP, CTP completed and things like that, you want to put it up here in this section, like all of the qualifying things that you have. Make sure they're in there. Don't leave your recruiter with questions, okay? And then the total flight time. Now here, this is different, right? This person has an ATP certificate. So a complete hour breakdown, I think, is still handy because if I'm correct, yeah. So look at here. With this hour breakdown, this does tell me a few things. So they have a total time of 1,846. So based on that flight time, I'm going to guess that they're a first officer in the A320. And so look here, pilot and command time, 122 hours. So I don't know if this is just A320. Oh, no, here's the A320 time. So with this PIC time of 122 hours, they wouldn't qualify for a lot of jobs. Most jobs are going to require 500 PIC in something. So if this is all the PIC time this pilot has, they don't qualify for a lot. And they have a ton of SIC time. That's not really good for much for most jobs unless you've upgraded. So I'm not sure, I'm looking here at the work history and I only see first officer. So all this second in command time in that A320 isn't going to count for anything for the next job unless you upgrade and start getting some PIC time in that A320. But based on where this person is at right now, they're not marketable for much because of all this SIC time. Doesn't count for a whole lot. I need PIC time. And so this SIC time, so I'll tell you guys that if you're flying as an SIC out there on something, whether it be a big A320 or a smaller jet, maybe like a personal jet, it's SIC time, it's really not going to mean anything unless you upgrade at that airline in that aircraft. We're going to want to see an upgrade. Other than that, just means you've been sitting over there in the right seat. If it's not a 121 operation, that time is kind of useless in qualifying for a different type of job. It is large aircraft time, so don't let me, minimize it. It's large aircraft time. There is a skill set there that this pilot has. But as far as flight time, there's not much here I can work with right now. Unless you were going to do that type of job. And then this tells me more. So it looks like that time was operated in Peru, And they operated in the US, but is this a 121 carrier? Probably not. It wouldn't qualify as 121 time, most likely. And so again, this time, not the best as far as building you up for the next job, as far as qualifying time, depending on the job you're looking for, right? I'm talking about a US 135 or 121 airline job, right? This time is it's difficult to work with. They could hire you on as an SIC, but that's not what you want. You really need 500 PIC to be marketable for anything. So this is a very different, unique type of pilot background. And that's why I said it was okay for this person to have this summary up here, because there's a lot of questions, right? This is not the typical pilot background that you see of a pilot who's built time in the United States, right? They've been building time in other countries. And I'm not saying you didn't learn things, but as far as applying that to a job here, it's going to be a little bit difficult. And now I like this, I like that they are showing that, what types of flying, medevac operations, environments with remote fields, probably pretty good at flying in uncontrolled, non-controlled airspace and the like smaller airports, that type of thing. But not a lot in the work experience that's really useful, to an airline job. I don't know how they're going to look at that SIC time. Again, that's individual to the airline, but it doesn't count for a lot, right? You do have an ATP, so so that's where I'm confused, right? You have an ATP, but you only have 122 PIC hours. So something is wrong here with these hours, because you can't get an ATP with that much PIC. So I'm very confused. So really, if I was looking at this resume, it's not very clear to me what the exact breakdown of the flight time is. And so I would pass on this resume, because I don't have time to query that pilot to figure out what the story is. You've got to make me want to talk to you by looking at this resume. I have questions, but really right now I'm very confused on, how you would qualify. And is that an SIC type rating, right? So there's a lot of questions I have here that are not very clear to me on this resume. Other work experience. Okay. Again, not seeing a 10-year work history here. Needs to be 10 years unless you do not have 10 years of work history. Let me look up here and the dates, right? So I'm going back and forth on this resume. Employment dates. Well, we are going back 10 years here. So this is a very confusing resume. I'm having to jump back and forth. The work history should be here in chronological order. So this shouldn't be flight experience. This should be, work history or something else. And all of it goes in here. Don't separate, because what I'm looking for is a seamless work history with no employment gaps. And so if you got your some dates here and some dates there, and you got to try to make me figure this out and try to put it together, I'm not doing that. That's not my job, and I don't have time for it if I'm a recruiter. I need to see it laid out in a format that I can easily see if you have any employment gaps. This isn't working for me at all. Okay, education and training. We've got it here. Okay, we've got all the stuff. We've got where they did the type rating. Okay, that's good. And then did some multi-engine training in Lima, Peru. Okay. Did the commercial pilot license and instrument rating in Miami. But then so you did the training, but there's no FAA commercial. So did you not take your check ride in Miami? I'm unfamiliar or unclear. And then I see this person probably had, again, looks like probably a second career type of pilot where they're making this a second career. Looks like they possibly had a career in marketing and management because they sought a certification or a degree in that. So I'm very curious. There's probably a lot of really great experience that this person has in management and leadership, but I don't know any of that because it's not on the resume. And remember, guys, management and leadership skills, if you have any previous work experience that's non-aviation with that, please highlight that on your resume, because management and leadership, captains are managers and leaders. And even if you're applying for a first officer position, we're looking at what qualities you have when you someday become that captain and that leader. And you may have stuff in your background already where you've been a leader. We're very interested in knowing those things. Please. So it's apparent to me that this person probably has some good management leadership experience, but I'm not really seeing that on the resume. And those are selling points for this pilot. Just because it didn't happen in an airplane doesn't mean it's not good experience and something that might help you in your career as a pilot. Pilots don't just fly airplanes, okay? There's a lot more to being a pilot. You're not just an airplane driver, especially when you're a captain. You are a manager of things. So please highlight that stuff. Okay, and then volunteering and memberships. All right, I like this. So this person was a volunteer in Peru with children's cancer support. Love it. You know, that's a cause that's near and dear to all of our hearts, probably. And then this person is a member of the 99s, which is an aviation organization. And what do I say? Join an organization. So this pilot has done those things, but this resume needs some serious work, and I have a lot of questions. So this isn't one, you know, if I was super short on pilots and I saw some stuff in here that was interesting to me, I might pick up the phone and get those questions answered, but probably not, right? So again, there were some good points on here, but this formatting needs some work. So hopefully this helped you. And I think this is a really good example for foreign passport holder pilots. I think I highlighted some things on there. Hopefully that is helpful to you all. So thank you for watching this resume review, and I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a great day out there.